On the internet, names don't always belong to people. Sometimes they're costumes, sometimes they're shields, and sometimes they're weapons. For years, a single individual moved quietly through online fandoms, adopting fictional identities, building influence, and then disappearing before anyone could hold them accountable. This isn't a story about fiction blurring into reality. It's about how reality was replaced. Because what happens when someone treats real people like characters in a game? When manipulation is hidden behind the veil of fantasy? When the rules of the world are dictated by one person alone? That is the story we are about to uncover. Long before live streams, fan conventions, and Twitter's algorithmic fandom wars, online communities were smaller. They felt personal, intimate, and, in some ways, safe. Places like LiveJournal, early message boards, and niche fan forums were digital living rooms. People came to connect, to share their obsessions, to explore their identities. But smaller spaces also meant easier control. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, moderation was minimal. Admins often had other priorities, leaving entire communities to develop organically. That created openings for people like Jennifer Cornet, though that was never the name she first used. Jennifer didn't burst into fandom with a manifesto. She appeared as a participant, as a fan, someone who loved the same shows, the same games, someone who seemed relatable, and that relatability was the first tool in a carefully honed strategy of control. Jennifer didn't present herself as a leader. She presented herself as a character. Names borrowed from the Final Fantasy VII universe became more than fan homage, they became instruments of influence. She and her partner built an environment where roleplay wasn't optional, it was mandatory. You didn't choose who you were. She did, and she framed it as something spiritual. Soul bonding, she called it. Participants were told they shared essences with fictional characters, that their identities transcended the ordinary. It sounded beautiful. It sounded transformative. But what made it dangerous wasn't the belief. It was the hierarchy. The moment someone tells you that your role is more than play, that your choices are guided by destiny, that obedience is spiritual, it shifts you from participant to subject. The online manipulations didn't stay virtual. At the center of Jennifer's early activity was a physical location, known online later as the Final Fantasy VII house. Some people stayed for weeks, some for months. Others moved in, drawn by promises of community, belonging, and a shared purpose. Accounts from former members describe an environment that was unpredictable, even volatile. Financial dependence, with members contributing money or resources. Emotional manipulation, often masked as guidance or mentorship. Isolation from outside friends and family, subtly encouraged over time. Constant pressure to conform, with rebellion framed as a spiritual failing. One former member, publicly known as Zach, eventually documented the experience. But his warning didn't expose names, it exposed patterns. Patterns that would repeat in new forms, in new fandoms, over the next 2 decades. Once attention grew, Jennifer and her partner vanished. No apologies, no explanations, just distance. And that disappearance wasn't an escape, it was a reset. Leaving a community in chaos is a classic cult tactic. It ensures that those left behind question themselves, their actions, and their judgment. And it allows the manipulator to return under a new guise, ready to start the cycle again. For Jennifer, this became a ritual, reinvention through absence. By 2013, the television series Hannibal had cultivated a dedicated online following. Jennifer returned under a new identity, Freddie Lowndes. This time, her operation was refined. A professional-looking website appeared. Articles were published under her name. Connections to fan events, cast interactions, and online forums were established. On the surface, it looked legitimate, enthusiastic, engaged. Behind the scenes, it was the same architecture of control. Jennifer's approach relied on compartmentalization and hierarchy. Fans weren't simply participants. Some were given titles, others became staff. These weren't symbolic, they carried obligations. People were expected to report in regularly, justify their actions, prioritize the group above all else. Those who resisted were quietly ostracized, only to be drawn back by fear, guilt, or pressure. Every interaction became a test. Every relationship became leverage. And every follower was subtly reminded that leaving wasn't just difficult, it was forbidden. Monica entered the fandom as an ordinary fan. She sought nothing more than conversation, community, and shared appreciation for the show. But gradually, the line between fan interaction and manipulation blurred. Jennifer insisted that Monica engage in soul bonding, that Monica adopt a character she didn't choose. When Monica pushed back, the communication shifted. Subtle threats, emotional coercion, implications of self-harm. It wasn't overt violence. It wasn't public humiliation, but it was effective, and it was terrifying. The system Jennifer built wasn't about belief, it was about selection. People she was attracted to were assigned characters that justified intimacy. Consent became blurred. Power dynamics vanished. In at least one documented case, she interacted with a minor. This was no longer roleplay. This was exploitation. And the most chilling aspect? It was hidden behind fiction, behind games, behind shared enthusiasm. The online world rewarded this kind of manipulation. It allowed her to mask control as guidance, obsession as mentorship, and abuse as roleplay. Like Zack before her, Monica reached a breaking point. She realized a simple truth. As long as Jennifer remained anonymous, the cycle would continue. So Monica did something bold, something Jennifer could not control. She used her real name, and in doing so, she broke the illusion. The response was swift. Accounts were locked. Websites disappeared. Jennifer vanished again. But the damage didn't stop there. Monica became the target. Harassment escalated. Stalkers contacted workplaces. Personal information was shared. In the end, Monica erased her online presence. She moved, changed her name, disappeared. Not because she had done anything wrong, but because exposing truth made her vulnerable. This isn't about fandom, it's about structure. Jennifer didn't succeed because people were naive. She succeeded because online spaces reward charisma, authority, obsession, and because anonymity allows people to reset without consequence. The lesson is uncomfortable. The structures that allow communities to thrive are the same ones that can be weaponized. No one knows for certain. Evidence suggests Jennifer moved quietly into new fandoms, using new names. Less visible, more cautious, delegating influence through proxies. The pattern didn't end, it evolved. Every disappearance, every reinvention reinforces the same lesson. Anonymity protects the manipulator, not the community. This story doesn't end with justice, it ends with silence. The internet doesn't remember people, it remembers usernames. And when usernames vanish, so does accountability. Unless someone writes it down, unless someone remembers. And that is why stories like this matter, because the cost of silence is measured in real lives.